Hey everybody, this is Fago Franklin III with New Stage Media. I am here with former Seattle Seahawks defensive end Joe Tafoya. First and foremost, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Yeah, we're smoked out. Has nothing to do with barbecues either.
At least you staying safe though.
Yeah, I am. Check it out. I've got one of my masks here. It seems like everywhere you go, you have to wear a mask these days.
I know it's kind of hard talking with people and trying to, converse with them, man.
Yeah, especially hearing impaired people. I have a lot of people in our community. We do a lot of events and such, and when they can't see your mouth move, it makes it a little more difficult. See, there you go. It's a reversible one. Check it out.
Nice, nice. Promoting the team, promoting the team. So
Yeah.
since you promoting the Seattle Seahawks, how did you like that win the other day against the Atlanta Falcons?
I thought it was tremendous. I thought the team looked really solid offensively, especially for not having played any preseason games. It's hard to really know what's going to happen right now. No fans, no preseason. You don't really get a chance to see what's going on in training camp, and everyone was left with a lot of questions. And then when the season actually started, which I was surprised that they actually played, but it was really surprising to see how strong our offense looked. Now I know they didn't change the offensive scheme around, and Russell Wilson and the rest of the guys have been doing some practice. You know, there were some questions on whether they should have been practicing in the off season the way that they were, but running routes, getting the particulars down, and they came out and they looked good, really good.
Okay, I know you used to play for the Seattle Seahawks and you actually been to a Super Bowl. Tell me about that experience.
Oh man, it was one of the best experiences of my life. It was the first Super Bowl that Seattle has ever been to, and
Hmm.
that was in 2005. Unfortunately, our city was Detroit, so you know, you, when you're in a Super Bowl, part of it, the experience is getting a chance to go out and see the city and experience, nightlife and really be on that center stage. Um, Detroit was a little different. There wasn't a whole lot going on, but the journey to get to that point was incredible. We had never been, like I said, to the Super Bowl. The organization that was founded in 1976 been in the AFC and the NFC for so long and never gone. So there was a lot of excitement in the city. Everywhere you went, you saw the number 12 flag. Everybody's talking about football. Our send off party, there were tens of thousands of people just to see us get on an airplane. And then when we finally got there, everything was top notch. You get in your room and you got all this. I still have some of my gear left from the Super Bowl.
I
And
definitely
then
had that experience, man. At what age did you decide that you wanted football to be your career?
pretty early on, I come from a sports oriented town, and I've got a background where my older brother is a football player. My
Mhm.
dad was a coach. All my uncles, all my cousins, and football was life. You kind of have two choices when you grow up in an environment like the one that I did. It's you take your blue collar job or you sell drugs and you get into the gang life. And I decided that neither one of those worked for me. So we had a really good high school team, and I had like 9 guys from my high school team get Division 1 scholarships, which is
Mhm.
unheard of. And two of us, no, three of us made it into the NFL from that team. I wasn't even the best player on my high school team, so I knew very early on that I wanted to play football.
So I know you got drafted by the Bucks. Tell me a little bit about that experience, just getting drafted.
And there's so many highs and lows. You go to the NFL Combine, and do all the All Star games, and you think you know what's going to happen. They have all of these people that are experts, and they rank you, and they give you, pluses and minuses. The Combine was crazy, by the way. That's an experience I'll never forget. You walk in,
Mhm.
and when I was in 2001 was my draft class. Um, it was 3 days of just poking and prodding and questioning and running and jumping. And as soon as we got there, they made us all strip down into our underwear and walk out onto the stage. And there's like 300 people out there. What they want to do is they want to measure your arm length, your height. They take a caliper and they squeeze your body fat. And they're saying all these numbers out loud into the audience. It's like a cattle market, man. It was pretty intense. So then you go through all of that whole experience, and then it's a waiting game. You know, you do the best you can. You put your best resume out there, and then you hope that people see in you what you believe in yourself. And I watched guy after guy after guy after guy that I had played against, and I felt like I was better than get drafted ahead of me. And then finally in the 7th round, Tony Dungy called my phone, and he was like, "Hey, are you ready to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer?" And of course, dreams come true, man.
So I know you had to overcome a lot of, adversity, obstacles, and injuries in your lifetime. How did you remain positive throughout, some of those grinding times?
One of the strongest things in the world, in our existence, is the human spirit. And if you believe in yourself, you believe, that you can achieve something, then nothing can hold you back. And I just had that firm belief in myself. And there's a level of resilience that you have to have when you're playing football. You know you're going to be injured. You know that you're going to get beat. But it's how you come back from those injuries, how you come back from defeat is what really defines you. And as a young player, you don't recognize that right away. But the older you get and the more experience you have in playing this game, you start to recognize that it's not always the best players. Like I said earlier, I wasn't even the best player on my high school team. It's not always the best players that make it. It's the guys who are the most resilient and the ones who are willing to get back up after being knocked down over and over and over and over again. And if you have that level of resilience, if you have the passion to play this game, I mean, that's what it takes. They can measure a lot of things. They can measure your speed, your size, they can take your body fat percentage, but they can't measure what's inside of your heart. And for anyone who's a young player that might be watching this, I will say that do not underestimate how important that is to your teammates and to your coach.
Amen. So I know that outside of you retiring, you have done so much for the Seattle community. What does it mean to you that people look up to you as a role model and you have a positive influence on the city that you play for?
Yeah, I feel like I'm more famous now that I'm done playing football than I ever was when I was playing. You wear a helmet and then people don't really see who you are. But when you get out into the community, you recognize that the fans just want to be close to this game. They just want to get as close as they possibly can. We're very blessed to have played and to have the ability to go out and be under the lights and experience that. But most people don't get that experience, so they want to know what it is, what it's like, who you are, and they want to get to know you on a personal level. And it's been an honor for me to get back into the community and deliver the message of how important fans are to this game. And I came up with this crazy concept at one point to have the Guinness World Records people come into CenturyLink Stadium and measure the sound. And it was an incredible moment in sports history, and it was a great moment for the fans, the Wolves here in Seattle, to be recognized. Because I remember sitting in my locker one day going out for the NFC Championship game against Carolina, and someone had opened the double doors to go outside into the stadium, like the area where you walk out, and in rushes this energy, just filled up the whole room. You could see guys, their entire body language changed. It was like something had switched on inside of every, and it was the noise that was coming in from in the stadium and all the fans. And then when we took the field, that team never had a chance. That other team never had a chance because of how much energy and passion was getting pushed down. And I always wanted to bring that back to the fans and have them recognize just how important that is. And, you know, the fans have really, really appreciated being recognized. And this organization does a great job of that. They retired the number 12. It's a very close personal relationship between the fans and this organization. And it's not like that everywhere. You know, I played for a lot of other teams where they just don't have the relationship like they do here in the Pacific Northwest. Football means so much to so many people. But when you get down to it, like, how do you measure a fan's passion? You can't measure it with how much money they spend. You know, I know that's what the NFL does. You can't measure it by, you know, how much gear you have and how many times you watch the game. It's the energy that you're producing, that you're putting down into your team and out the field. And we were able to measure that, which was unique and very cool. I've done a lot of other things in the community too. You know, hosted the Richard Sherman Celebrity Softball Game, multiple fan events, send-off parties, and I got a chance to know these fans like personally. I know a lot of them by name, and I know their stories. I even know what size garments they wear.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, what does it mean to you that you have a positive support system? I know you talk about it all the time, that your wife pushes you, your family pushes you. Like, what does it mean to you that you have these people pushing you to be the best man that you can be?
It's been that way since I was a little kid. When it was recognized that I had an athletic ability, they wanted me to stay away from the gangs. They wanted me to stay away from, you know, fighting and getting into trouble. And they would always show up to my events, show up to my games, and that has continued on. It continued on through high school and college, and then through professional ranks. That support system is easily the most important thing that any young man or woman could have in life. If you're trying to achieve something and someone is holding you to a high standard and high regard, you don't want to let them down. And, you know, to have to answer to someone else, it's important. It's actually really important for success. And, you know, today I've got my wife who has a great business mind. She's, you know, there with me. I support her and she supports me. She was there when I was playing football, and then she started her clothing line, Lady 12, and now I'm her biggest support system. You know, so, and then we get our kids involved, the whole community's involved. You have to have that support network to be successful.
How did she actually start that off? I'm kind of curious because I've been living in Seattle for like 3 years, and I've been to a couple of her events. So how did she like actually got that started off?
Yeah, thank you. You came to our fashion show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was the one at T-Mobile Park, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There you go. There was a gap in the marketplace, and she recognized it. It was the large to 4X women fan. They weren't. There was no one in the market making apparel that was comfortable and form-fitting for a woman that was in the large to 4X range. And I was at the time I was promoting a brand called Legion of Boom with the secondary for the Seahawks.
Come on now.
Yeah. So I had a hand in taking that public and doing what we did for the secondary for that, and we started selling a lot of apparel behind it. We did the Volume 12 effort. We started selling apparel behind it, and my wife recognized that most of our customers were women, but they were buying men's shirts, and they were, you know, as your boots on the ground, talking to these fans, having the interactions with them, to start to recognize that they aren't properly served. So she came up with the idea for a women's focused brand. We started off with a t-shirt, and then it went to 5, and then we did some of these socks that go over your arms, you know, and the hands. And then we started seeing them everywhere. And then she made these yoga pants that had like the feathers going down the side. and then everybody was wearing those, or you couldn't go anywhere without seeing them. And then we realized that we were maybe in trouble for infringing on some trademarks. So we got, you learn your lessons, and you try to only learn them once. You have to be told more than once. Then you're in trouble. But after having some success doing live events and opening up booths, we took the brand into Safeway and Albertsons. They welcomed it with open arms. It's been adopted ever since. Yeah, so it's just a lot of it had to do with luck and timing and perseverance. And, there's a lot of ups and downs. At one point, we took everything we had financially and just put it on the table and said, "All right, we're all in right now. If this doesn't work, we're in big trouble." But it did. So thank God for that.
Oh, what advice can you give young entrepreneurs about, as you just stated before, taking that risk and taking that leap of faith? What advice can you give young entrepreneurs about just taking that leap of faith?
Well, if you don't try something, you'll never know if it works. And I encourage people to try, fail. I think there's a big stigma around failure, and it's not necessarily a good thing. Some of your greatest lessons come from failure. And when it comes to all of the success that we've had with launching brands and events, those were all based on knowledge that we gained from failing. I mentioned the trademark issue earlier. That was a big deal. I had to spend a lot of money to protect ourselves, and we got sued, and it wasn't fun. But then you learn how to. But if we didn't try, if we didn't actually get in the game, we didn't leave the sideline, we wouldn't know how to play. And one big piece of advice I can give to people is really be careful on who you have as a partner. I've had a lot of partners in my life. I've had a lot of people that just weren't really as invested as I was in the whole thing. And when you're not having success, they're hard to find. When you're having a lot of success, they're out front. So just be careful. There's nothing wrong with going after something on your own.
So back to football real quick. I got a couple more questions because I know you got to leave in a few minutes. Do you think that Russell Wilson is going to be a future Hall of Famer when his career is finished?
There's no question, without a doubt. He'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer. His record speaks for itself. I mean, his personality. I mean, all the things that they evaluate when they're evaluating who should go into the Hall of Fame, you can check every one of those boxes for him. Statistically, he's consistently been one of the best quarterbacks. He's such a dynamic player, and he's really changed the way that we look at a quarterback. As far as you have these prototypical pocket passers that, even Michael Vick couldn't break the mold the way that Russell Wilson has. So as far as being a game-changing element for a National Football League, only a few guys come around in every generation, and he's one of them. So he deserves to be first ballot Hall of Fame.
What teams are you actually intrigued about this season?
As far as what's the most intriguing thing for me?
Yes.
Oh man, I think the thing that I'm really the most interested to find out is if the fans will actually get to go back into the stadium. I'm so curious on how that's going to be handled, because we're in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, everywhere you go, you have to wear a mask, and not everybody follows those rules. You can't always count on the guy next to you to be as protective as you are of your health and then that of your family. And so when it comes right down to it, you're going to be putting yourself at risk. You're going to put a lot of people at risk. And I just don't see how they could fill up the stands the way that they used to. And that's on an ongoing basis. How are we going to solve this problem? Even a vaccine at this point, I'm not really sure how it's going to solve the problem. So I'm very curious to see how they roll out.
what advice can you give some of these rookies that starting their first season this year? What advice can you give them about staying true to themselves and not falling into drugs, the women, and different things of that nature?
Oh man, you've worked your entire life to get to this moment, to get to this point, and all it takes is one mistake. So you really have to be on top of your game with, the way that technology has advanced. When I was playing, we didn't even have cell phones. There's no chance that somebody was recording me doing something stupid, but there's every chance that all video cameras are pointed in your direction. And all it takes is that one mistake. So keep your circle close, be as tight as you can with your good friends, and be careful who you let into that circle. And, focus on your craft. There's such a short period of time. I watched the Michael Jordan Netflix series.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so inspired to see how Michael Jordan focused on his craft. And I wish that I could go back in time and put forth the same effort that he did in practice. And because it's such a short window of opportunity for you. You have this really short opportunity to get all of the fame, success, money, accolades. And then when it's gone, it's gone. And you can't go back to it. So, the one piece of advice, if I had to give one, would be to just keep your circle close. Make sure you know who's in your circle.
And my last question is, what inspiring words can you give the nation right now? Because I know we're going through the pandemic, social injustice, and a lot of different, uncomfortable topics that we need to talk about as an America. What advice can you give everybody about just staying focused on themselves and kind of unifying together?
Well, that's a big question. I mentioned the human spirit earlier. My son asked me, he's into like tanks and trucks and big machines, and he's like, "Dad, what's the most powerful thing in the world?" And I said, "Son, the most powerful thing in the world is the human spirit."
Mm-hmm.
And we just celebrated an anniversary of 9/11 recently, where the nation came together under extraordinary circumstances, and we were able to unify and bond. And you really got a chance to see the human spirit and the brotherhood and all of the families support one another. And I think right now we could use some of that unity. And my message to anyone that might be watching this who needs a little pickup is think about what it was like on September 12th. All those people that we lost in that tragic event, it's going on right now. And community, there's so much political, there's such a political divide happening right now. But the human spirit, look what we were able to do. Be encouraged by that. And let's come back to that. Let's come back to the place where we're all supporting each other and in this as one.
Amen. Thank you for those encouraging words. Thank you for speaking with me, man. It's been a pleasure. We'll talk soon. Thank you again, my friend.
All right. Cheers. Good luck to you.
All right. Thank you, man.